Hey guys, what's up? This is Connor here. Hope you're having an amazing day. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what is a good offer versus a bad offer, right? Now, the reason why this video is going to be so important for you to watch to the end is that this is one of the most underlooked skills, along with interviewing and networking, which again, nobody talks about. These three things really, like how to vet an offer, how to interview for an offer, and how to network to get your dream opportunities, nobody ever talks about, right? Because again, I don't want to run you guys, but it's the same thing over and over again. You're working with marketers versus a sales guy who's done this for 4+ years now. You can probably tell in the way that I'm explaining this and the way that I'm talking to you right now is I understand what I'm talking about, right? And I'm trying to tell you the truth. And hopefully, using this video, using this guide, you can have a little bit better of an understanding on how to vet the right offers so that you actually make the money that you want and you don't end up working weeks, months, I've even seen up to a year sometimes, believing this false facade that you will end up making money on the offer when it's simply, from a numbers perspective, not even feasibly possible, right? So let's go ahead and talk about that. Now, again, like I mentioned, this is really important that I guess you really understand. The difference between a good offer and a bad offer can really mean everything. This is super important. It can mean the difference between making 3K a month to 20K a month, right? Think about it this way. Let's say a company does 500,000 per month, right? They have 4 sales reps in the company, and they're looking to hire 1 more sales rep. You find the role through an opportunity through your network, and now there is $100,000 in revenue of space to where you can create that 10K per month income, because typically there's a 10% commission rate. Now, I'm not saying that you will sell that 100K amount, but there's 4 reps making 10K a month in an offer. There's no reason that you can't do the same, because you can follow a proven sales process that is already proven to work with a company that is already uber successful, right? The biggest trap that I see with many of you, as I mentioned, I get DMs every single day, calls with people who want to join the RSA, and they say, oh, I'm working on this company and I'm just not earning the money that I want, or that they've got me doing Facebook prospecting with my own profile, and then they're trying to get me to sell people in this type pyramid scheme type thing, right? These are not the real offers that you want to work on, guys. It's super important to understand. The skill to vet opportunities is, again, one of the 3 skills, along with interviewing and networking, that is almost critical to be successful in this industry. Yet so many people underlook it, and so many people have to get it through experience rather than finding the mentor that can teach them everything they need to know in regards to that topic, right? Vetting the right offers. So in this video, we're going to talk about some ways that you can use, or a checklist that you can use to utilize on whether or not the offer is going to make you the money that you want to make, right? So let's go ahead and dive in. So what is a good offer, right? This depends on a plethora of factors, right? But ultimately, you want to focus on 4 objectives when picking an offer, in my opinion, right? And from my experience. Number 1 is, what is the sustainability and the longevity of the offer, right? Is the offer going to enable you to make the income that you want over time, or is it a short-term offer, right? Is it an offer that goes up and then goes down? We're going to talk about that in depth in a second, about crypto and yield farming and how it relates. Number 2 is, can I make the money that I want on this offer, right? I see this all the time. People will take offers, again, out of desperation and not out of choice, because they don't have enough interviews lined up, and they'll work cold calling, working endless hours, almost, volunteering for a business, earning barely minimum wage. They'll do it for months because they think they need to get experience, right? This is simply could not be further from the truth. Every single role that I've got through networking, even if people were interviewing for the role that were much more experienced than I was, I still had the right skills to land the opportunity through networking, but also how to interview extremely well, okay? So if you need to reverse the numbers, which we're going to talk about, reversing your numbers of okay, is a sales rep making the income that I want to make on this offer? If not, you're taking a risk on whether or not that company is going to be able to provide that opportunity for you, okay? Third thing, what redundancies do they have in place? Are they marketing on multiple channels? Are they on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, right? Do they have multiple pools of places of leads that you can find? How big is their lead lists? How big is their clients list for upsells and referrals? These are the things that most people don't talk about or even think about when it comes to vetting these business owners, because they get on calls and they're just excited to get their first opportunity, and then they end up making no money 4 months. They get frustrated. They work for 3 to 6 months, if that, and then they get frustrated with the industry, and then they quit, right? And they get no results because they worked on a shitty opportunity that was never going to make them any money in the first place, right? And number 4, what is their client results? Like, what is the company's client results? This is really, really important. If the company that you're working with is a scam, or it is what you would class as unethical, right? Or they don't really get good client results, do you even want your name associated with that company? I'm guessing probably not, right? So you need to make sure that, again, they provide and they deliver on the service that they are promising. And as a good bonus there, as part of the 4, as number 5, is how good is their marketing and their brand, right? Do they have a really good personal brand? Do they have really good marketing? When you get on the calls, are they almost like laydowns, right? This is the feedback that you can get, and sometimes not get from the founder, but get from the salespeople on the team that hopefully you networked with that person, so you got the interview, right? Cool. So let's break these points down. So number 1, what's the sustainability and the longevity? What do I mean by that? Offers can die down and offers can last a very long time, right? 2 examples here, right? A bad example of an offer that doesn't have a great longevity and sustainability is a crypto yield farming offer, right? So this might seem great at the time. You can make a good bit of cash quickly, but how many legs does this offer have to stand on, right? The answer is very little. Why? Because it's a trend. Yield farming is a trend, right? When the crypto bull run turns into a bear, it's not going to sell as well, right? Trends just mean it'll sell easier, but once the trend is up, it may be more difficult to sell. But more specifically with crypto, in that specific industry, people are going to be way more hesitant to buy in a bear market because, I don't know, that's just the way that crypto works. Or for example, crypto yield farming as like a protocol and what they do there, it's a Ponzi scheme, right? But it's a Ponzi scheme, right? Like it just doesn't work. Well, no, it does work in the short term until someone's left holding the bag, which many of people that I know personally have ended up doing that, right? So it can work, right? And it does work in the very short time that it does, but you don't want to be the guy that's left with your pants down, right? Which is with a lot of people are left with on crypto yield farming, right? Cool. So a good example of a good offer with good sustainability and good longevity is a local lead generation coaching business for business owners, right? Why? Businesses will always need lead generation. That's not going anywhere, right? The vehicle is here to stay, right? Every business always needs leads. Every business always needs sales, right? So long story short, just use your common sense and intuition around this one, right? It's really, really important. Another example of a great company for the longer term is a fitness company, right? Everybody on the planet needs to focus on their health, right? So that's not going anywhere, right? Whereas if you're working on an offer that's going to be the next new shiny thing, and it's not going to be fantastic, then, just use your common sense, like I mentioned. Now, number 2 is, like I mentioned before, is can you make the money that you want on the offer, right? It comes back to really what I'd call the 3rd grade math, right? The reason I call it 3rd grade math is it's literally the most simple math you'll ever do. You don't have to be an expert at math, right? I barely even passed math in high school. I passed by 1 mark, right? If I can do it, you can do it as well. If you want to earn 10K a month, what are the inputs that are required to achieve the outputs that you want, right? The metrics you need to factor in and understand and ask questions about the business owner is: how many average calls is each sales rep taking every single day? What's the average cash collected amongst each rep? What's the average conversion rate? What's the average show-up rate across the team? What's the commission rate? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? How many calls can you self-generate each day? How many leads is in the pipeline in the CRM that you can access and you can, smile and dial? You can book your own calls, right? How many days are you working each week, right? Now, all you have to do is take a lot of those numbers. Once you get some of those information, it will be from you and your preferences and from the business. You can work it backwards and find out if your goal is feasible on the given offer, right? Now, number 3 is what type of redundancies do they have in place? Now, like we talked about, it's just all that it is what type of marketing do they have in place? right? Where do they advertise? How many platforms are they advertising on? And do they have a strong organic presence? If they have a strong organic presence, they have a strong brand, then bonus points, right? It works really, really well. You have to understand, as a commission-only salesperson, you and you alone are responsible for your income, right? So you need to make sure that if the ads go down, if shit goes sideways or hits the fan, you have a redundancy plan in place to diversify your risk so that you can make sure that you can continue to make sales and continue to get paid regardless of if the ads are up or not, right? Why is all that important? The reason why it's important is that, again, you need to think of yourself like a business. You have clients that you're working with. You can't just accept that, a company doesn't have multiple forms of lead generation, or they don't have a way or a redundancy plan in place to counteract that, right? Do they have connections at Facebook to get their Facebook ads account back up, right? Same thing with YouTube, Google, right? How effective is their marketing strategy? These are really, really important questions to ask. And of course, like we mentioned, what are their their client and their customer results, right? And their feedback, right? How good are their client results, right? Are there bad reviews about them online? If so, how many, right? How does that compare to the amount of good reviews? Like, how big is that number? Right? There's two reasons why you want to know this, right? Number one, obviously, it makes it easy to sell, right? It's much easier to sell for a product that actually works and delivers results. Number two is, like I mentioned earlier before, is you don't want to be selling a shit product, right? I don't know anybody or any sales guys that want to be selling something that, doesn't deliver results. Because why would you, right? If you're a good person with a good conscience, why would you want to sell something that doesn't get people what they want, right? What they paid for, right? So with that said, guys, there is some context as to why these skills are super important, and there's some very actionable steps you can take away to your next interview once you land one through networking, that you can actually vet these offers, right? Like I mentioned before, it's a blind leading the blind. I see too many people go in these offers, they accept one out of desperation, and they're working on a cold calling role or a cold prospecting role, or they're doing all this work, just for experience, but they end up never making any money. They get burned, and then they leave the industry, and they're like, oh, sales is not for me, right? Could not be further from the truth. So hopefully this shed some insight for you. Hopefully you got some valuable takeaways. And yeah, that's it for me, guys. I will see you in the next video.